Okay, so Ms. Rodriguez, I'm going to mute your device for right now because of that background noise, and we'll get you unmuted when you're going to be testifying or speaking. Okay. We're here today set for a final in this matter. We are conducting this through the Zoom program under a finding of good cause and consent and agreement of the parties. Most notably, Ms. Rodriguez, the mother in the case, is presently being held in, I believe, the Tom Green County Jail, which is obviously some distance from the rest of us. So she has joined us by Zoom from that facility. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Jay Michelson for Demetria, and we are here and present.
Joel Jackson, guardian ad litem for Demetria, present, ready, Your Honor.
William Taylor, appointed to represent Joshua Dominguez. He is not present, and I am here and ready.
Hedwinski, I am Ms. Demetria Rodriguez's criminal defense attorney in Tom Green County.
Casey Zavala on behalf of Luke.
All right, thank you all. All right, Mr. Trout, how many witnesses do you have today?
I anticipate 2, Your Honor. Ms. Cantrell and Ms. Jones.
Okay, then Ms. Jones, Ms. Cantrell, and Ms. Rodriguez. I'll need each of you, if you will, please, to raise your right hands. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you will give on trial today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Jones, I didn't hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. All right, Mr. Trout. You can call your first witness. Excuse me.
Oh, Kathy Jones. And were you the supervisor on this case when it was in investigations?
Yes, I was.
Ms. Jones, during the course of an investigation, does the department keep regular records of its cases?
Yes, we do.
Are the records kept in the ordinary course of business?
Yes, they are.
Are the entries during these cases and notes, are they made at or around the time that the events occur?
Yes, they are.
Are the entries made by a person with personal knowledge?
Yes, they are.
Do you have access to these records?
Yes, I do.
Are you a custodian of the records?
Yes, I am.
Have you had opportunity to review the records in this case?
Yes, I have.
Are the removal affidavit and investigative report, are those part of the records?
Yes, they are.
Are those filed with the court?
Yes, they are.
And have you reviewed those documents?
Yes, I have.
And during the course of this case, were the events reported back to you as you were the supervisor on the case?
Yes, sir, they were.
How did the department become involved in the case involving Luke?
In January of 2022, we received a report concerning Luke, who was 1 at that time, regarding an injury to the back of his neck, a bump, and Texas Tech reported having concerns that he missed medical appointments.
Okay. And then after that, did a second report come in?
Yes. Excuse me.
And that came in March, is that correct?
Yes.
And what was that? What did that report entail?
There were concerns that Ms. Rodriguez had called law enforcement, reporting that she was hearing voices in her apartment and wanted law enforcement to respond to help rid the apartment of the voices that she was hearing.
Okay. Who handled the case at that time? Was it Ms. Fife?
My investigator, Bailey Fife, at the time.
And Ms. Fife no longer works for the department, is that correct?
Correct.
Was Ms. Fife able to meet with Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes, she was able to meet with her at her apartment.
Okay. And was that on March 22nd?
Yes, it was.
And you said she was able to meet with her in the home.
Yes.
Did Ms. Rodriguez, at that time, did she mention hearing voices to Ms. Fife?
Yes, she did. She appeared to be having issues with auditory hallucinations. There was concerns about her son as well.
Okay. Did Ms. Fife notice anything about Luke?
I'm sorry.
Did Ms. Fife, when she was at the apartment, did she notice anything concerning about Luke?
Yes, she noticed eventually that he was wearing a hoodie, and she wanted to be able to view him, examine him, and eventually the hoodie dropped from his face, and she was able to see really concerning bruises on his cheek, dark bruises, and then a scratch along his jawline. So there was concerns because of his age that he'd been injured.
Okay. During your conversation, during Ms. Fife's conversations with Ms. Rodriguez, did she state that she was on medication from TPC?
Yes, she did.
And what had happened to that medication?
She at one time told Bailey that she didn't, well, we knew that she wasn't taking it as prescribed. She'd indicated that she only would take it when she had a bad day. And then she subsequently admitted to flushing the medication down the toilet.
But did she also have an appointment set for within a couple of days with TPC?
Yes, to my knowledge, I believe she did.
Do you know if she ever made that appointment?
I don't know.
Okay. While Ms. Fife was there, did Ms. Rodriguez mention that she was hearing voices from a couple of different people?
Yes. She mentioned somebody named Savannah, and the voice were telling her to do mean things. It was very concerning, a very concerning conversation that the two of them had.
Okay. Did she also state that she used marijuana almost every day?
If it's in the report, I don't remember recalling that, but it wouldn't surprise me with her history.
Okay. On March 23rd, did Ms. Fife ask Ms. Rodriguez to drug screen?
Yes, she was asked to drug screen.
And what was her statement to that?
I don't believe that she agreed to do that. We had planned to pick her up the following day to transport her to drug screen.
Did Ms. Rodriguez state about what age she began using methamphetamines?
I don't know what age she started, but I do know that we have history of her using methamphetamines from previous involvement.
Okay. So she has had previous cases before?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how many other children besides Luke that Ms. Rodriguez has?
To my knowledge, she has 4 children and not custody of any of them.
Okay. Do you know where her daughters are?
It's my understanding that relatives have 2 of the children and a 3rd child was removed at birth. But specifically where they are, I do not know.
Okay. And was mom's rights terminated on the one that was moved at birth, to your knowledge?
Yes.
And that child has subsequently been adopted?
Yes.
On March 23rd, while having a conversation with Ms. Rodriguez, did she get up and write something down in a journal?
Yes, she did.
And what did she state she was doing?
That she needed to capture what the voices were telling her so that she could remember what they were telling her to do.
Okay. And do you remember who, did she let Ms. Fife see that, what she had written down?
And she did let her see it.
And what was that concerning?
I'll need to look back.
Your Honor, I guess I would object. She's not testifying from personal knowledge. She's testifying from the note.
From the business record, Your Honor, that were taken at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's testifying from the department records, and so I'm going to overrule the objection.
And Ms. Jones, if you can't see it, I'll ask the question a different way.
she wrote that Savannah's trying to take my health and my luck. Savannah's trying to take my skin. It ain't yours, Savannah. Ms. Rodriguez stated that Savannah is her stepsister and she's trying to look at her. The last time she saw Savannah, she noticed her skin was lighter and she knew she was trying to look more like her because she was prettier. And then she started stating that they is what she calls the hellish and evil presence that's around her.
Okay,
They tried to take Luke away from me when she was pregnant.
okay. So during this conversation, she made a lot of concerning statements as far as what she was possibly hearing and seeing. Is that correct?
Yes, there was concerns that she was having mental health issues.
Okay. And then later on the 23rd, paragraph down, Ms. Fife took Ms. Rodriguez some dinner that evening.
Yes, we had wanted to make sure that they had food, and we had staffed previously with my boss. We're told to take her food. Yes.
Okay. And did Ms. Fife ask again about the bruise on Luke's face?
Yes. She initially stated that Luke falls in the bathtub and that he falls outside, and then she said, I can't take it back. You know what I mean?
Okay. And was that a concerning statement for y'all?
It was concerning, yes.
During the conversations with Ms. Rodriguez, did she state who the possible father of Luke was?
Yes, she named Joshua Dominguez and indicated that he was a resident of San Angelo.
Was the department ever able to get in touch with Mr. Dominguez?
During the investigation, we had completed an accurate and obtained an address and requested a courtesy worker in San Angelo, an investigator, to make contact at the address. Feedback from that worker was they made contact at the home and were told by the residents currently living there that that was not his residence.
And then the department, due to concerns of mental health episodes and the concerning bruise that was seen on Luke, and not knowing exactly what had happened, but knowing that Ms. Rodriguez was hearing, by her own admissions, was hearing voices in the apartment. Did the department ask for orders to remove Luke?
Yes, we did.
And those orders were granted?
Yes, they were.
And so Luke was removed for safety reasons?
Yes, he was.
And y'all, the department believes that was in the best interest of Luke at the time?
Yes, we did.
In the investigator report, on March 25th was when Luke was removed. Is that correct?
Correct.
And worker and law enforcement went by the house to pick Luke up.
Yes.
Did Ms. Rodriguez make a statement as they were leaving to law enforcement?
It's my understanding from the report that she admitted to the use of methamphetamines.
Did she ask the officers to take her marijuana and pipe out of her bedroom?
Yes, she did.
Following the removal, did Ms. Fife make multiple attempts to contact family in order to try to place Luke with some family?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And at that time, was he able to be placed with family or was he placed in foster care? Do you know?
At that time, he was placed in a foster home.
Okay.
Upon removal.
And again, due to the circumstances surrounding the initial intake, the conversations had with Ms. Rodriguez at her home, her admitting to voices and not knowing where some injuries came from on Luke, department removed and believed that was in the best interest of the child.
Yes, we did.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Michelson.
What efforts were made to prevent removal in this case?
We knew that she was involved with some community resources. We knew that she was involved with the HOPES program. We knew that she was involved with the Coming Home program. We attempted to transport her to Texas Panhandle Center's appointment, to medical appointments for her son. We knew that she was already hooked up with some resources, so we attempted to utilize those resources to help her as well.
Did she have the capacity to work family-based services?
we didn't feel that there was enough safeguards put in place to do that successfully. And with the bruises we saw on the child, it compounded our concern.
Okay. Did you ever contact Adult Protective Services or suggest an emergency placement for Demetria?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Okay, so her conduct and behavior didn't rise to that level, do you believe?
Well, I work for Child Protective Services and we knew that she was already hooked up with TPC. Our primary goal is protection of the child.
Okay, and when the officer removed contraband from the or was asked to remove it, did the officer find methamphetamine? Was that present in the room?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know.
And marijuana is in and of itself isn't the basis for a removal, right?
It would be concerning in this situation with the mental health component. And marijuana is always a concern for a child in a home, in access to a child and a parent parenting a child under the influence of marijuana.
Okay, no further questions.
Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, hi Kathy, been a while.
Yes, sir.
All right, if I call you Kathy instead of Ms. Jones also.
Absolutely.
Okay. The record indicates there has been some contact with Mr. Dominguez, is that correct?
During the investigation, Mr. Taylor, we were not able to make contact with him.
I think he was actually served back in October of 2022. And at one point, I think Erica Cantrell indicated that she had his, I don't remember if it was an email or a telephone number that she was able to send text to. Not an address, but a phone number to text or an email. I don't remember which, because she had sent him a link to the June hearing. I think there's documentation of that, but other than that, there's been no response or contact from him in response to any of the efforts to contact him. Is that correct?
It's my understanding from the hearing in June was that the conservatorship unit had located him or located the possible father. And that's the extent of my knowledge of being able to locate him.
Okay. He's made no efforts at all to be involved. Is that correct?
I wouldn't know, sir.
Okay. Nothing further going on.
Okay. Mrs. Hall.
It sounded like you said earlier that at some point there were some calls made to some relatives. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so was that an attempt to try to find someone who could help supervise mom with Luke?
Per the investigative report, the phone calls were made after removal of Luke. It would be to determine if there was a possible relative placement to be considered for him at some point.
So there were efforts to keep Luke placed with the family.
Yes. And I'm looking back and I do see a contact on March the 25th that we made contact with the maternal uncle to be able to possibly consider placement of Luke.
I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Trout.
Judge, if I may, could I have an opportunity to cross-examine this witness?
I'm so sorry, Mr. Jackson. I apologize.
That's fine.
My bad. I'm really sorry about that. Yes.
Okay. Ms. Jones, I kind of want to go back over a timeline with you. According, I think, to your testimony, the child was removed March 25th of 2022. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then at the time of removal, I believe your testimony was that Ms. Rodriguez had made an admission to you all about her use of methamphetamine and marijuana. Is that correct?
I need to look back, Mr. Jackson. I know that she admitted to using meth to law enforcement. But I need to research this again to be able to testify to her marijuana use.
But the law enforcement was present when the child was removed, were they not?
Correct.
And so if that admission was made on the 25th, then she submitted to a hair follicle and a UA on March the 26th. Isn't that right?
If we transported her, yes, she did.
Okay. And the results in your investigative report on March 31st, 2022, I received negative urinalysis and hair drug screen from Ms. Rodriguez. So she's testing negative for these drugs, but you're testifying that you had a concern for her drug use, even though that she's not testing positive for this.
Based on the history, I believe I said.
Okay. And the hair follicle drug test goes back in time, right?
About 90 days.
And you all had a concern about these types of things being around this child. Is that a fair statement?
Well, if there was paraphernalia found in the home, it would be concerned. There would be concerned about her medications too prior to her flushing them.
Did you all take the liberty to test the child?
Our policy had changed before that time, so we I don't believe we tested him. Well, I don't know. We did do a hair strand test at the end of the investigation, and at the filing of that report, those drug screens remained pending.
That's the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Trout.
As Mr. Jackson just pointed out, drug screens were negative when they came back from Ms. Rodriguez, correct?
Correct.
But throughout your investigation, she had admitted to using. So you, at the time, your concerns were by her admittance. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the drug screens were not until after removal that she took a drug screen, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So during your investigation, your concerns were based on what mother was telling you, that she had used and that she had asked law enforcement to remove marijuana and a pipe from her room.
Correct.
Those are all concerning statements that whether the screen came back positive later or negative later, she had told y'all that she had been using.
Right.
But was one of the main concerns outside of drug use was mental health issues at the time and what was going on with mother.
Correct.
Okay. I'll pass with the show.
Kathy, did it occur to you that maybe her statements were unreliable based on her state of mind?
Which statements?
That about drug use and her admission for drug use, when she had also related to the caseworker that, you know, she was hearing voices and they were telling her to do things.
I mean, I think we just took everything in totality. It's like we were concerned about. We've worked with people who use methamphetamine. We know how they interact with us. We were concerned about mental health. I don't know that we were able to distinguish one from the other. We were concerned about everything.
Well, once it was clear that she didn't have drugs in her system, did it make you rethink about her drug use?
Well, again, she had history of use from our prior investigations, and the investigation was completed after the drug screens regarding her son were pending.
Okay. No further questions.
And as you stated earlier, would you agree that there were a number of statements that Ms. Rodriguez made that were concerning?
Yes, there were.
Would it be concerning that she was in such a heightened mental state that she would actively lie about using methamphetamines?
I don't know. I don't know enough about mental health, and I mean, it's like I would be concerned about everything that she said, her reaction, everything.
So there were bruises on Luke that were really not explained.
Correct.
A number of concerning statements about hearing voices asking her to do mean things.
Correct.
And a statement that she had used meth as recently as yesterday, I believe the testimony was.
Yes.
I pass the witness.
You bet.
Ms. Jones, if she made the statement that she'd used meth as recently as yesterday, and she submitted to a UA and a hair follicle the following day, wouldn't those have shown up on the drug test, on the drug screens?
I wouldn't think it would be in her hair test. I don't know if that would have enough time to actually penetrate the follicle. Regarding the UA, I'm not sure how soon that would capture that as well.
Okay.
It might have been that we could have done a cheek swab in that capture, but I'm not exactly certain how long it would take to process in either urine or hair.
Yes, ma'am. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anybody else have any other questions for Ms. Jones?
No,
Oh, yeah.
further questions, yeah.
Okay. All right, Ms. Rodriguez, are you trying to address the court? Because you're muted. I can't hear you. Do you need to talk with your lawyer?
No, how are you gonna say that he was removed March 25th when he was removed March 15th? I remember. Okay, I was sober. So it was March 15th, he was removed. And I got sent to the pavilion. And
Okay, Ms. Rodriguez, your lawyer can cover all that with you when you testify. Okay.
okay, so this is what I'm gonna tell you. Hold on. No, hold on. Because there's no cost to defend. There's no cost. Shut up. There's no cost to defendants.
Okay,
Bitch ass
ma'am.
shit. I ain't trying to fucking do this shit.
Ma'am, she's leaving.
All right, Mr. Winsky, do you and Mr. Michelson and Mr. Jackson want to try to talk with her before she just exits, if she's willing to speak with you all?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you all try to retrieve her to see if she'll talk to her lawyers?
No, she's out. She just headed straight on out. She's not.
Well, can someone at least ask her if she's willing to talk with her lawyers?
Okay, we'll have to wait till she gets back to the unit and we'll get a hold of her.
Okay. All right, everybody just stand by. All we can do is make best efforts here. So I want to make sure that she's going to decline participation or decline to speak with her attorneys before we move ahead. I expect it'll be a couple minutes, so if everybody wants to take a short break. Yes, ma'am. And your all's device is muted, so.
Yes,
Dude.
ma'am. She is refusing to come back and even talk to anybody. She don't want to talk to attorneys, nobody. She
Okay.
said she's done.
Okay. I appreciate you trying to get her back for us. Thank you very much. And so
You're welcome.
you all have the link. Should she hang on, let me get something on the record real quick.
Okay.
Okay, we've taken a short break. Ms. Rodriguez got up and had left the room. I did ask personnel of the Tom Green County Jail to try to retrieve her to see if she would speak with her attorneys and guardian. Ma'am, would you please state your name for the record for me?
It's Deputy Renee Gerhart.
All right, Deputy Gerhart, if you would please, just so we can have a record. Did Ms. Rodriguez, was it conveyed to her that her attorneys would like to speak with her?
Yes, ma'am.
And did she decline to return to participate in this proceeding or to even talk with her attorneys?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did she say anything else about this?
Just that she didn't want to talk to anybody that she's done.
Okay. All right. I appreciate you very much. You all still have the link should she approach anyone and request to come back onto this proceeding. I would ask if you all could try to get her logged back in.
Okay.
I don't know how long this will be going, but just in the event she decides she does want to participate, I'd want her to be able to get back in since this is a final determination about termination of parental rights.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. This time I'll let you all log out.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, let me just ask, Mr. Rinsky, you are more than welcome to stay with us if you wish, but you may have bigger and better fish to fry, so to speak.
Well,
So-
I appreciate it, Judge. Mr. Jackson, if she for some reason does come back on, would you shoot me an email and I can log back on?
Yes, sir, I will.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Judge.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it and best of luck with her situation.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Trout, you can call your next witness.
Call Erica Cantrell, and how are you familiar with that case?
I was assigned the case at first at removal. It's been assigned to a second worker, and I've since been reassigned.
Okay. So since the beginning, you've been familiar and toward the end.
Yes, sir.
When you first receive a case, what is your first steps in it once you get it?
Our first steps would be to get in contact with parents, discuss with them as far as a family plan of service, just kind of work with them to see what services we can provide in hopes for reunification.
Okay. And service plans, just to go over what they are, they're a list of services that can be provided to the parents in order for them to work toward reunification.
Yes, sir.
Which is the ultimate goal usually is for reunification. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And this is just one of the many methods of doing that.
Yes, sir.
Were you able to meet with Ms. Rodriguez?
I was.
Where did you first meet with her?
I first met with her at the St. Francis office.
Okay. During that first meeting, did you discuss the service plans at that time?
We did discuss services. I attempted to go over the plan with her.
So did you receive what I sent out as exhibits?
I did.
Were you able to review what's listed as exhibit number 1?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
That is the family plan of service for Demetria Rodriguez.
And this is one of the service plans that we just discussed that is given to the parents and helps work toward reunification.
Yes, sir.
Was the service plans in this case, were they made in order of the court?
Yes, sir.
And you said attempt to go over these with the parent?
I did with Demetria, yes.
I'd ask you to admit exhibit number 1, which is the family plan of service for Demetria Rodriguez. Ms. Cantrell, when you said I believe your words were I attempted to go over it with her, what did you mean by that?
And when she came to the office, she was here for a visitation and we had planned to go over that with her. She did not want to listen. She maintained that we took her child. She did not want anything to do with it. She was cussing, she was irate, and she refused to sign.
So you and your supervisor signed, but Ms. Rodriguez refused to sign the family plans, is that correct?
That is correct.
But these family plans were made in order of the court.
Yes, sir.
What type of services was mom ordered to do?
Drug screening, parenting classes, OSAR evaluation, counseling, psychosocial evaluation, maintaining employment, housing, such like that.
During the course of this case, has Ms. Rodriguez performed any of the services?
No, she has not.
Has she attempted to perform any of the services?
She did attempt to, when she was working with the HOPE program, they did, and I assisted in getting her in Synacor. But unfortunately, she was asked to leave Synacor due to her behaviors.
So out of the list, she, just real quick, did she maintain regular contact with the department?
No, she did not.
Did she have transportation of her own?
No, she did not.
Did she do the parenting classes?
She did not.
Did she do rational behavior?
She did not.
Does she have any sort of support system, her family, or does she stay in contact with anybody that you know of?
Not that I know of. In the beginning of the case, she did have the support through the city programs that she was working. They were in regular contact with me, but she left that. And so after that, she didn't have much of a support at all.
Did she do a psychological evaluation?
No, sir.
Did she attend her appointments? I'm assuming these are with TPC. Did she?
No,
have-
she did not.
She did not. Do you know if she was current with her medications?
No, I did not.
Did she ever do individual therapy?
No, she did not.
OSOF?
No, sir.
Do you know when the last time that she drug screened was?
Our last drug screen, let me pull that up. The last drug screen she completed was May 6th of 2022.
So in a little over about 14 months, she has not drug screened for the department. Is that correct?
No, sir.
This case started in March of 22. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so the child has been in care for more than 6 months.
Yes, sir.
Is the child doing well?
He's doing wonderful.
The St. Francis and the department gave service plans in order to try for reunification with mother and to help her through what was going on. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did the mother take advantage of those?
She did not.
Has the mother attempted to visit with the child or meet with the child?
No.
When was the last time the mother saw the child?
It's been well over a year ago.
Has she reached out asking for that?
No, sir.
Do you believe that the mother could provide a safe home and environment for the child?
Not at this time.
And as we saw, mother is currently incarcerated. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever speak to the mother about the father and the child, alleged father?
I did in the beginning of the case, but she maintained it was Joshua Dominguez, but she always said she didn't have any information for him.
Did the mother come in and out of contact with you?
In the beginning, yes. And then when I resumed the case, I had no contact. I was just sending her the letters to jail to let her know I was the worker again and just updating her on Luke.
When was she found to be in jail originally? Do you remember the date when you are on the phone?
She was found to be in jail. I want to say around April, not specific date. She was briefly released on a bond.
Okay.
And after that, it wasn't but a few short weeks later, she was returned back to jail.
Okay. Has she responded to any of your letters or calls since you've resumed the case?
No, sir.
Now, as far as the father, have you had any contact with him?
I have.
When was that?
That would have been the day prior to our last hearing in June.
Send him the link.
I did.
Did he state that he wanted to attend the hearing at that time?
He didn't specifically state he would or wouldn't, but I did let him know the importance of his attendance.
And he did not appear.
He did not.
Have you heard from him since?
I have not.
Have you checked? And I believe there was a statement that he said he may go to jail for something.
He did. When I had that conversation with him the day prior to court last month, he said I was talking to him about the genetic testing or the DNA and stuff. And he stated that he didn't know if he'd be able to complete that or not because he was reporting to probation that Monday and could be looking at 9 months in jail.
Okay. Have you found him in any jail since then?
I have
What
not.
type of searches or where have you looked? Did you see if you could find him?
I've looked in the local jail roster for Tom Green County, as that's the area he lives in, and I also did a Vine Link search.
Do we know if he possibly was going back to the county or to a TDCJ? Did he say?
He did not say.
During the course of the case, he was served in October, I believe it was. Was there any contact with him before that?
Not by me, no.
Okay. And he contacted you one time prior to June, is that correct? February, January, somewhere in there?
I believe that would have been the previous worker, Ms. Gollahue.
Okay, but he had reached out at that point.
He did.
Okay. And I believe he was provided his attorney's name and contact. But
Yes.
as far as we know, those are the only two contacts that we've had with the father.
Yes.
There was a order for paternity testing.
Correct.
Did he ever complete that?
He did not.
Has he ever been found in order to complete that?
No,
You received the exhibits.
I didn't.
Were you aware of a paternity registry search?
Yes, sir.
And it came back as no one had inquired about being a father. Is that correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Dominguez is alleged.
Correct.
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit exhibit number 3, which is the certificate of paternity registry cert, indicating that there's no intent, no notice or intent to claim paternity.
No objection.
Okay, petitioner's exhibit 3 will be admitted. Let me clarify real quickly, Ms. Cantrell. Did you all look for him in TDCJ as well?
I did not know. I did a local search and a Vineland search. But I can do a quick search right now.
Mr. Taylor? Do you know the status of where he is, or?
I have not found him in TDCJ or elsewhere or otherwise.
Right, but you checked TDCJ?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to give Ms. Cantrell just a quick minute to double check TDCJ. What he had described sounded very much like an ISF program.
No, he's not in there, Judge Baker. There is one there, but the age does not match. Neither does the, excuse me, I'll go back to the county in which this is. I don't believe this is him in there because he's been incarcerated since, looks like 2017.
Okay. And we know he was not in TDCJ's custody at the time he was served back in October of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ms. Cantrell, do you know when mom originally went into jail?
I know originally it kind of started here in Amarillo and Potter County. She was arrested and booked into Potter County. And then from there, she went to Tom Green County. So, I mean, it's been quite a bit.
Are we talking, this case started in March, you met with her, I believe, sometime in, let's see. I believe service plans were done. Y'all signed those on May 6th. So she had met with you in the office. So are we talking, she went into jail sometime in June, July, and then was transferred, or is this beginning of 23 that she went into jail? Do we know?
It would have been, I'm trying to look back, I'm sorry. I still had the case, and so that would have probably been about May, June, when that incident happened, that she was arrested and then transferred of last year.
And to your knowledge, has she been in jail the whole time, or besides that one time she was out on bond not too long ago?
No, yeah, that would have been no, there was 2 times. There was a second time that she was released from Tom Green County, and she went into like I don't want to say assisted living, but after living program. And she did that for a few months, and then she left there, and then she returned back to jail.
Okay. So for a lot of this case, go ahead.
Sorry, I can give you a little. As of 10/1/22, she was in a 6 to 9 month recovery program in San Angelo.
During any of those times, I know you said you sent correspondence to the jails. During any of those times, were y'all able to get in touch with her?
No, I don't believe there was contact. I did have some contact with her during that time that she was in that program. But it was brief. Like I said, she stayed briefly and then left.
Do you receive exhibit number 2 also?
Yes, I did.
And what is that?
That was the family plan of service for Joshua Dominguez.
Was he ever provided a copy of these? I mean,
Not by me.
Not by you. Okay. But those were made in order of the court.
Yes, sir.
And they are they are family plans of service in order to try for reunification.
Yes, sir.
Judge, just for formality, I would admit exhibit number 2, which is a family plan of service for Joshua Dominguez. Ms. Cantrell, is the department at this time Well, excuse me, let me back up. You said, Luke was doing well,
He is doing well.
and where is he placed?
He is placed with a fictive kin here in Amarillo.
Okay. And this is the mother-in-law to an uncle, is that correct?
Yes,
So some family does have contact with him.
yes,
Okay. And he is developing well, growing well.
he's doing great. He does have a little bit of hesitation towards women, but he is very bonded to Benita. That's his home.
Is this placement potential long-term placement?
Yes,
Are they licensed? Are they working to get licensed, or what are we looking at that?
they are working currently with St. Francis Ministries on the licensing process of this, but they just completed a home study, so we're getting very close to that official licensing.
So they are wanting to adopt through the department if they're able.
Absolutely.
Is St. Francis asking to terminate the parental rights of the mother, Demetria Rodriguez, based on failure to work services, constructive abandonment? And if the court deems necessary, I believe there's inability to care. Mother's incarcerated right now, and potential mental health issues we still have going on.
Yes, sir.
Are you also asking to terminate the parental rights of the alleged father, Joshua Dominguez, based on failure to paternity registry search, and an alternative failure to work services and constructive abandonment?
Yes, sir.
And you believe that's in the best interest of the child?
I do.
And as you've stated, the child is doing well and thriving in the home, which is a potential long-term home.
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Michelson?
Thank you, Your Honor. May I call you Erica?
Yes, sir, you may.
Okay, thank you. Your earlier testimony was that you attempted to go over the case plan with Demetria. And you provided some detail of that description. Did you ever get a chance to revisit the family service plan with her?
I did not.
Okay, so that was your only attempt at trying to communicate that information.
I wouldn't say that wasn't my own. That was my only attempt. When talking to her, we did talk about services and what I could do to help and such. But officially going over a family plan of service, that was the one time I did that.
Okay, and given her state of mind, do you think she understood what you were talking about?
I want to say, I don't think she fully understood. I mean, she understood as far as she was going to have to do things to get Luke back. As far as if she fully understood what, I can't say for sure.
Okay. But she never said, oh, I've got to go get an OSAR, or I've got to do this or this.
She was willing. I mean, she did go to Synacor. She knew that would be part of some of the plan of the OSAR, and she did willingly go to Synacor.
So did she in effect, being asked to leave, was it through her mental health issues or willful behavior?
I don't know specifically if I can label it as mental health. I don't know that specifically. She was asked to leave because she would not participate in groups. She would not participate in therapies. She was very negative to other residents and would use racial slurs and say very negative comments, about other people in that facility and that treatment.
He's very distrustful of people, as it appears. Was it likely that she would succeed in a public group like that?
I don't know.
Okay. You also testified about, sorry, I'm getting over pneumonia.
I'm so sorry.
You also talked about her support group, and I'd like you to clarify that a little bit if you could.
Yes, the support, the one in San Angelo.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, that was available to her when she was released, as she didn't have anywhere as far as housing, anywhere like that to go. And so she did go there. They worked with her on her medications and such. I will say during that time, She was more level-headed and you could have a conversation with her without anger. And so they really just tried to work with her to maintain that stability and work with her to get some of these services completed.
And how long was that period of time?
I want to say she was there about a month. And then I had a courtesy worker that was going to see her for me down there. And she notified me that she went to go visit and she had just left the program and she was no longer there.
Okay, thank you. And for she was in custody almost the entirety of her case?
I would have to go back and look specifically. Like I said, I know it would have been about May or June last year. That is when the time frame of the incarceration started. She had warrant. She was arrested here, Potter County, then transferred to Tom Green. She was there for a couple months, and then that's when she was in that program around October. And then after that, I lost contact, and there was lost contact with Miss Gollihue as well. And then she was located back again in the Tom Green County Jail.
And under those circumstances, is it likely a person could complete their services?
No, not likely. There are packets available to them to do services that way, but not the therapy, not the counseling, not the psychological things like that. No.
Okay. Do you think she still engages in behavior that would endanger her child?
I do.
And what are those?
Based upon her ongoing criminal, we don't have an expected, time frame as far as when we'd be looking at a release for her. Her mental health is still a struggle. We would need to see long-term stability if she was to be released today. She's not able to regulate her moods, the way she speaks to people, things like that. So yeah, there's still a lot of concerns.
Okay. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, and just a couple questions while I've got them on my mind. Ms. Cantrell, when you had contact with Mr. Dominguez, at any time, did he indicate he wanted genetic testing?
He didn't say specifically. When speaking with him, I told him that was made in order. We would like to do that. He's never said he wasn't the father. He has said that he indicated he didn't know how he could be, but he never said he wanted to do it or not do it.
Okay. And since that time, we've lost track of him again, so that setting up genetic testing is impossible or improbable.
Yes, ma'am, I would say so.
All right. Mr. Taylor, I don't have it up in front of me. I don't know if you filed an answer. Did he request at any point in time, did he request of you genetic testing?
I attempted to contact him. Erica gave me his phone number. He would never respond to my attempts to contact him. I wrote him at the address he was served at. He did not respond to that letter. I Googled him and got an address not only for him, but also for his mother. He did not respond to either of those efforts either. And then when Erica had a phone number for him back in June of this year, she gave me that phone number, also told me that she gave him my contact information. He never contacted me, and my efforts to contact him, I even texted him at that phone number and received no response to the text or to my efforts to call him. And my belief is that he just has no interest in following up.
Okay. All right, thank y'all. All right, and then Mr. Taylor, do you have any questions for Ms. Cantrell?
Nothing further, Young.
All right, and Mr. Jackson?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Cantrell, aside from your concerns with regard to Demetria's mental health, during the pendency of this case, has she ever had the financial means to support this child?
No, not that I know of. I don't even know if she was receiving Social Security benefit. I don't know anything about her income. I do know that she was involved with that program with the city of Amarillo, and they assisted with paying her rent for her. So, she didn't have employment. I do know that.
Okay. And you're aware that well, as far as the charges that are pending in Tom Green County, are you aware of what those charges are?
It's a burglary charge.
Okay. Do you know what level of charge it is? What level of felony it is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay. Do you know when that's scheduled to go to trial?
I do not.
Okay, I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn.
So, Ms. Cantrell, I just want to make sure I've got kind of the timeline right. When this case started, is that when Ms. Rodriguez was working with the city of Amarillo and was getting assistance in rent?
Yes.
Okay. And they were kind of providing some wraparound services for her?
Yes.
And this case started in March and she was out until at least late May or possibly early June?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it during that time period when you assisted to get her into Synacor?
Yes.
Do you have any way of knowing what would have happened with this case if she had stayed in Synacor?
I can't say.
And it was her behavior that caused her to be asked to leave?
Yes.
Then at some point, she was released from jail in San Angelo.
Correct.
And was provided a support group and a place to live there.
Yes, ma'am.
And an opportunity to work her services then.
Yes, ma'am.
And she voluntarily left that place to live and that support group.
Yes, ma'am.
From the time she left that place in San Angelo, I know that you said that you lost contact with her. Do you know how long it was before she was back in jail?
I don't know the specific time frames. I can definitely, let me pull up. Just give me 1 second. This might be able to. I don't know specifically. That was during a time that I was not on the case. But I don't believe it was too shortly long after she left the assisted program in San Angelo that she was back in jail.
But during the time that you are aware of, she had two distinct opportunities to be actively working services when she was in Synacor and when she was with the support group in San Angelo.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
You said that when she was with the San Angelo group, she became a little bit easier to speak to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so when she was in a place where you knew where she was, you were reaching out regularly to speak with her.
Yes, and vice versa during that time. She was reaching out to me as well.
And during that time, she did not visit with Luke.
She did not. We had stopped visitation.
When is the last time she's visited with Luke?
The last parent-child visit we have noted is June 10th of 2022.
Okay. So I think that broadens our time frame for when she was out of jail. So she must have been out of jail up until at least June 10th of 2022. Is that correct?
You are correct.
If she were to be released today, do we have any indication that she has a place to live?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Any indication of any way to support herself or Luke financially?
No, ma'am, we do not.
And no known support system because the ones in Amarillo and San Angelo were rejected by her, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So even if she was released today, would there be a safe place to reunite Luke with his mother?
No, ma'am.
And do her actions indicate that it would be safe to reunite Luke with his mother, even if she had a place for them to live?
Not at this time, no.
I pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Trout?
I don't have any further questions at this time, Young.
All right, Mr. Michelson, any witnesses to call?
No witnesses, Your Honor.
And do you rest?
I'd just like to make a brief argument.
And I'll give you time, but you rest as far as your case.
Yes, otherwise arrest as far as the evidence goes.
All right, and Mr. Jackson?
Your Honor, I don't have any witnesses. I prepared an exhibit that we've sent out to all the attorneys. I don't think it went to the court. I'm not 100% sure. At any rate, what this represents is that Mr. Winsky, who is the criminal lawyer for Demetria Rodriguez, received a communication from Sergeant Robert Briones, who's the transport deputy for Tom Green County Detention Center. And he informed Mr. Winsky of the following: I regret to inform you that Ms. Rodriguez has expressed her decision not to engage in the Zoom hearing and specifically requested to be absent from the proceedings at Potter County CPS Court. I would offer Exhibit M1 at this time, Your Honor.
All right, any objection, counsel?
No objection.
No
No
objection.
objection.
No objection.
I'll rest, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson, thank you, and I will admit mother's exhibit number 1. Do you rest then, sir?
I'll rest.
Okay. And Ms. Zavala, any witnesses or any evidence to present today?
I have no witnesses and I would rest.
Okay, then.
Also rest, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, Mr. Trout, any argument, or do you want to wait and respond?
I'll wait and respond, John.
Okay. All right, Mr. Michelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think what concerns me about this case is there was testimony of an initial attempt to talk about the case plan, and because of Demetria's state of mind, wasn't amenable to that conversation. And it doesn't appear that there's any other evidence that case plan has ever been revisited or reviewed with her. There was some general understanding. Maybe she understood some things. So I'm concerned about that. And then plus her mental health issues and plus her incarceration gives her lack of either understanding or ability to work on her case plan. And I think there's an interesting case where Justice Doss provides an interesting concurring opinion from an April 23 case. It's a recent case. It's in regard to AV, and it's 0722000340-CV. And the justices, I think there were 4 justices on that case, they contemplated the sufficiency of evidence of drugs alone being enough to address endangerment D&E. So I thought that was an interesting review of that case. They affirmed the termination, but there's some interesting points of view about to what extent drug use can be used in termination. So at least that was my take of it. So those are my concerns, is that I feel like Demetria really didn't have much of an opportunity or a chance to address those things because of her state of mind and her incapacity as far as freedom goes.
Mr. Michelson, do you have a copy of that opinion?
I do. I can send it to you.
Would you mind to email that out to everybody?
Sure, I'll do that. And hopefully I was correct in my observations of it.
All right, Mr. Jackson, I'm sorry, anything to add on behalf of the mother?
No, ma'am.
All right, and Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to make?
I do, Your Honor. I do believe that it is in Luke's best interest that the parental rights to both parents be terminated at this time. While I appreciate Mr. Michelson's argument, this is not a drugs alone type case. And there is not a safe place. There's not a safe person for Luke to be returned to. He is thriving in the placement that he's been at for quite some time. And at this point, I do believe it is in his best interest that those parental rights be terminated.
I would like to just review the case that Mr. Michelson has argued. And as soon as I do that, then I will issue my ruling. Unless everybody wants just to take a few minutes and look at that, counsel, in case any of the rest of you wish to make an argument about it, we can certainly take a few minutes. And then I can, we can all take a look at it. Does anybody else wish to make any further argument regarding the opinion that Mr. Michelson has presented?
Judge, I wouldn't mind making a few statements. One main issue is we're not necessarily looking at drug use specifically on this one, as this case dealt with. I understand the factors alone of drug use may not, the discussion of may not arise to termination at that time, but mainly the mother did not attempt to work services. She knew of services. There was testimony that they tried to go over it, whether there's also testimony that she did go into Centacor knowing that drug treatment would be part of it. There was opportunities for her to work some services. She also hasn't had contact with the child. The child was a year old when it was removed, is 2 now, has not seen the mother. I believe it was since last June, so over a year. There are 2 main reasons. The mental health aspect, as far as the endangering the child in the beginning of the case, the fact that the mother had flushed her meds, was not med compliant, the hallucinations she was hearing, speaking to people, writing things down during in the apartment when she had the child, I believe all goes to the fact that the child is thriving in the home that it is in now, and is doing better than it was in the care of the mother at the time. Mother does not seem to have improved any since then, just based on behaviors, and does not appear to be getting better on her mental health side. So outside of D&E and those grounds, we were looking more at the failure to work services and the constructive abandonment issues. I believe the pleadings were also originally amended to add in mental health grounds on inability to care for a child, which mother's incarcerated at this time. She still has some mental health issues going on. So while I understand what we're looking at on the case, I don't know that it is applicable to what we're looking at on this case.
All right, and anybody else have any argument they want to make about the case? Or any other argument?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, nothing about the decision would change my recommendation in any way.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I've reviewed it, and I will just make a sidebar remark that it has Justice Quinn written all over it. But just by virtue of some of its entertaining properties.
Glaringly.
Not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's just that's his touch. I've reviewed the opinion, and I think the opinion was really more directed at D&E grounds, and under the evidence that's been presented to me, I am not going to find the D or the E grounds with respect to the mother in this case due to her apparent mental health struggles. I find that we would lack the knowing component under D. Not really clear to me that she knew much of what reality was at that time. And you could certainly make an argument under E that she engaged in conduct that might have endangered the child, but because her original drug screens were negative. I'm struggling with finding anything under E, and again, coming back to the mental health issues. I think that's why the legislature has given us a separate ground for termination to address situations such as this. So I do find by clear and convincing evidence that it is in the best to terminate the parental rights between the child and his mother, Demetria Rodriguez, based on Texas Family Code 161.001, subsection B1, the N and the O grounds, and the best interest of the child under 161.001, subsection B2, and under Texas Family Code section 161.003, her inability to care for the child based on her mental health issues and inability to care for the child. I'm going to adjudicate Joshua Dominguez as the father of the child and establish the parent-child relationship between Mr. Dominguez and the child. I find by clear and convincing evidence it's in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights between the father and the child under 161.001, subsection B1, the N and the O grounds, and interest 161.001, subsection B2. I'll additionally find that he failed to register with the paternity registry under Texas Family Code 161.002, subsection B2. At this time, I'll name the Department of Family and Protective Services as permanent managing conservator. I'll dismiss all court-appointed attorneys after the appropriate de novo and appellate timeframes expire, with the exception of Ms. Zavala, who will obviously remain as the child's attorney and guardian ad litem. Counsel, just as always, be reminded your de novo timeframe does begin to run since I've rendered an open court. And if you are instructed to file an appeal, please do not do so until the final order has been signed and adopted by the referring court. All right. Thank you all very much for your time today. I appreciate everybody's patience. Sorry we were having trouble with the jail, but I thank everybody for their assistance in getting that done and at least getting mom on for a portion of this.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Y'all have a good rest of your day and we will be adjourned.
Judge.